my name is Sibel. I am a Harvard Berkeley dual degree program student, and today I'm going to be unveiling how I get straight A's. Your grade, it's seldom a reflection of your direct intelligence and more so of your ability to master the art of getting an A, because there is an art to getting an A, and I'm going to be revealing what that is, so stick around. And yeah, number one, build the self-image of a straight A student. So I think a lot of it is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So would a straight A student procrastinate all of their work? Would a straight A student get no sleep at all so they can't focus in class? Would a straight A student stay after class to ask the teacher questions? So when you build a self-image of a straight A student, you start to kind of embody that character. You start to embody the persona of somebody who's more successful, and you start to think that you're smarter. And when you think that you're smarter, you open up more ways for your brain to prove that you are smart to yourself. Number two, build a disciplined study schedule. Now, I'm not saying you have to sit there for like 8 hours a day and study nonstop, because that's completely unrealistic for a lot of people, especially if you're not used to that. Kind of build progressively up to that. So say today I'm gonna study for an hour, or today I'm gonna study for 30 minutes, and you kind of wanna ease yourself into it, or else you're just gonna completely shy away from it. Yeah, so like take it easy, take it one step at a time. Alongside the disciplined study schedule, make it a priority to either review after classes or preview. When you go in and you've previewed the material, what class should do is be an area where you can ask the teacher for clarifications on certain things, because a lot of times when we learn something for the first time in class and it's not crystal clear to us, we don't retain the information. So like, what's the point of doing it if you don't retain the information that you learned? The brain needs to see something 7 times before you completely register what it is. In your study schedule, you need to make sure you take breaks. One of the techniques that I personally love is the POMODORO technique. The POMODORO technique is 25 minutes study, 5-minute break, 25 minutes study, 5-minute break. And this is good if you want to like work a long day, or just in general, I think it's good if you want to build that discipline. Number 3, build a good relationship with your teachers. It's it's very important that you build a good relationship with your teachers, because ultimately they're the ones who are giving you the grades at the end of the day. Like, I'm not giving you the grade. I'm not Teacher Fescal giving you the grade in the class. You need to go to the person who's in charge of your academic destiny. Well, besides yourself, the other person who determines how well you do academically is your teacher. So building a good relationship with them is essential. The first thing I would say is you have to empathize with them. A lot of students go, I don't like Mr. Smith because I don't like Mr. Smith because he gives us too much homework on Tuesdays, and I'm so mad he hasn't gotten back to us with a test yet, and da-da-da-da. You have to realize these teachers have a life outside of school, and they have responsibilities just like you do. They have things that they have to commit to, and it's very difficult for them to maintain that balance, just as it is difficult for you to maintain that balance outside of school as well. Show up at office hours. Show up at office hours. When you show up at office hours, you're basically telling your teacher that you value their time and that you value the advice they could give you, and also they're there to help you. It makes them feel like students are genuinely interested and invested in their class. How many times do you take some class and you're just like, my goal is just to get through this. My goal is just to do the assignments and get through this. Even when you have a question, you're just like, I can't be bothered to go to the office hour. It helps so much to go to the office hour, because not only do you get clarification on the material, a lot of times they explain it better to you, and then that saves you time on studying. And then like, what if you didn't go to the office hour and you have a test, and then you studied for a multiple choice section and you realize, oh my god, there's not even a multiple choice section. You would have known if you went to the office hour instead of just like wasting your time doing it yourself. Don't be afraid to ask for that help. Find a good study technique that works for you. Are you better at reading it out loud and walking around your room and having that spatial awareness and pumping oxygen to your brain by exercising while studying? Are you reading over your notes? Are you highlighting things? Are you rewriting them? Are you going over them in your head before you go to bed when you wake up in the morning? One of my favorite study techniques is, obviously the classic index cards, can't go wrong with that. Write the word on one side and the definition on the other. Write the event, historical event. What was D-Day? What was the invasion of Poland? Another study technique that I like to use is called the mind palace technique. This is my top secret technique, but I will be revealing it because I think it is the best technique out there. I absolutely love it, and it's good if you want to memorize huge chunks of information in a short period of time. So what you do is you write out the outline for an essay or the information that you have to learn, right? You write out the outline. Then you get little sticky notes and you plaster them all along your wall, like here, 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 or a space that you are familiar with. It has to be a space that you're familiar with that you can memorize by association in your head. And so basically you write down the beginning of each point that you want to make for your outline. And you go around the room and you read your outline as you're looking from your computer or the whole written outline, and then looking at the wall, so looking back and forth. And so at one point you only want to memorize the placement of the notes on the wall in the room, and then your mind is automatically going to go, oh, this reminds me of that text, and it's kind of like a photographic, it's like a way to trick your mind into photographic memory, if that makes sense. The next tip is do whatever it's going to take to make you feel confident. A lot of times people don't do as well on tests even though they learned all the material because of performance anxiety. So what you have to do is figure out what is going to eliminate that performance anxiety for you. Are you going to, dress well on the day of the test? Do you have to study 2 weeks in advance? Like before the test, do you have to have like stress balls? Like what's going to make you feel confident? Is it learning a mnemonic device? If you know the material well, if you know that you've studied to the possible extent that you can, you're not going to feel as flustered. Therefore, that's not going to affect your performance anxiety, and it's going to give you more clarity and time to do it. And then also, when you're taking a test, make sure that you are allotting the right amount of time for a specific question. Number 6, ask for practice tests ahead of time, or like practice questions or mock exams, and then also test yourself. The best way to do the exam is to practice the exam while you're at home, or practice whatever thing you're being tested on. And it's like, you would never go into the Olympics and do a trick for the first time on the bars or on the slopes if you've never done it before. That makes no sense. You practice it over and over, so when you perform it, it's just muscle memory, right? That's the same thing for an exam. You practice the format of the exam over and over until it's kind of in your bones. And I know it may sound like at the beginning it's kind of tedious, but once you start doing this over time, your brain is going to be able to create neural pathways that automatically help you create these associations, and you'll get better and better at memorizing. It's like a muscle that you kind of have to build over time, but once you do, it's going to get easier over time. Number 7, work smarter, not harder. And attaching to that point, I'm gonna say make sure that when you're working smarter, not harder, you're working on your weaknesses on the test. Like, what do you think you're gonna lose the most points on if you don't pay attention to something, right? Like, you also have to think, you have to conserve your energy, and you have a limited amount of time to study for something because you have other classes, you have commitments outside of school, you have extracurricular activities, you have a life, you want to do things that you want to watch a movie, you want, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you want to have something, a well-rounded life, and you can't do that if you're studying all the goddamn time, right? Number 8, befriend or spend time around other straight A students. If you surround yourself with greatness, you will become great. It's just, if you spend your time around negative people, you're gonna become negative. If you spend your time around people who are always complaining about being broke, guess who's gonna be broke? You, my friend. If you spend time around people who are always positive, that positivity and that motivation is going to rub off on you, baby. So it's really important that you spend your time around winners. Like, you want to be a winner, you spend your time around winners. So you start to think and act like them, and they push you to become better. It's the same thing. Spend time around straight A students. Watch how they study. Watch what their techniques are. Watch their mindset on certain things. Watch how they are effective. Watch how they work smarter rather than harder. Watch their results. Watch the way they talk to teachers. Like, study the straight A student. Like, the best way to become something is to study people who are already successful at it. Right? Model success. Number 9, create a personal connection to the material that you're studying. So what do I mean by create a personal connection to the material that you're studying? If you're more passionate about the topic, you're a lot more likely to actually want to learn it and want to do well in something. think about, okay, what is this material? Maybe it could help me in the future. Maybe there's a research project for a scholarship that you're applying to, and that if you learn this material for this test, then you can use that and kill two birds with one stone, right? You're repurposing the time that you're spending and learning and putting it into something else, and you don't have to research an entirely new topic. Maybe you're trying to make friends in different circles. Actually, I have a funny story about this. So essentially, I had this test called the brevet that I did in 9th grade, which is the test that all French students have to take, especially even the ones internationally, if you're doing the French curriculum. And I had to study a lot about European history, and I learned a lot about Russia and kind of Russia's history with communism and then their evolution into the Russian Federation. And I went to this camp called Explo at Yale, and it was a summer camp, and we took a lot of courses, and I was able to make a lot of Russian friends because of my knowledge of Russian history. I was able to do that because I studied the material, and because I was able to create that connection, because they saw that I understood a part of their culture and we could talk about it. That helped to create that bond. So who knew that me studying this stuff in school would actually help me make friends and help me have a good time at a summer camp, right? And so you just never know when it's going to be useful again. And that's something that I always like to think about that's really fun. I studied this material and I went back to Paris again. I was able to kind of like identify all the different monuments, tell my parents about the history of the place, and tell my friends about the history of the place, and it's just so much more. So if you think about it, like this could be used as a motivation to study as well, as cheesy as it sounds. Maybe you have a crush on somebody, or maybe you have a celebrity crush and they like to talk about that topic. And so like if you ever bump into them, you can strike up a conversation and you know a lot, you know in depth about that topic because you studied it, because you followed Sibel's hacks, you know what I'm saying, because you listened to Sibel. Then you could talk about it and you can be like, oh my god, yeah, you know, the behavioral conditioning, Pavlov's dogs, like, ha 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 ha. And then they'll be like, oh my god, you're so smart and talented and gorgeous. You know what I'm saying? Don't do it just to get a man's attention or to get a woman's or their attention. Like, but obviously, what motivates you is what motivates you, baby. And I'm not saying I've done that in the past. Okay, maybe I've done that in the past. Maybe I've done that in the past, but it might work for you too. So, and then on to my last point, always seek help if you need it. It is completely useless to struggle on your own and waste time when you could just get the help of someone else. Find a tutor, find somebody, don't be afraid to reach out to people. Like people love to feel like they can help others. People love when you ask them for help. I hope you guys enjoy this advice on how to get straight A's. Actually, I'm a straight A student. I'm still getting A's at Harvard, even though, you know, the level is a little harder, I'm not gonna lie. But because I've mastered the art of this, and I'm not ashamed to say that I've mastered the art of getting an A. Yeah, I mean, it's just something that with anything, you just need practice over a long period of time to get good at. If you need help tutoring, I do offer weekly tutoring. I'm a tutor in French, English, Mandarin. I also help with just any subjects in general, study tips, motivation. I help with college prep, essays, interview prep, everything. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll see you guys next time with more advice. Bye!